And welcome back, everybody, to another episode of GGS1 Case 1. So, there's not a whole lot left on the script, per se. Like, I don't think there's gonna be enough for me to even fill another video. So this is probably gonna go... Oops, I hit something on my keyboard. And nothing happened, thank God. So I'm going to just go ahead and just see if I can finish this, because I really don't think there's gonna be enough left of this case for, like, to be worth a whole other video. So this may go over a little bit. So... I can't believe we're already almost done, jeez. Man, back when cases were short-ish.
No explanation is necessary. It's the poison.
Poison?
Now then, allow me one interview question to that professor there. Apparently, a poison you're developing was stolen from your research lab. That poison was stolen by the victim. You're sure about that?
Was he present to know about that? Anyway, that's true. The victim constricted pupils point to a death by poison.
So, in other words, would I be correct in saying that before the victim was ever stabbed in the back, she had already stolen the poison?
Oh, I see where this guy's going.
What?
Since her pupils are constricted, that's indeed what we must conclude. Since she'd already died, the effects of the poison didn't present themselves.
I'd expect nothing less from one of the Imperial City's prided newspaper reporters. Indeed, anyone could have stabbed anyone else in the back as many times as they wanted, and it wouldn't have mattered in the least. After all, it was the poison that took the English woman's life.
But if that were the case, there would have been poison on the blade.
Have you forgotten, Hicks student? The investigation we conducted during the recess a moment ago by cooperating with Mikotoba's research lab, that was a mouthful, revealed no traces of the stolen poison on the knife blade.
In other words, the facts that defense attorney there so skillfully approved are a mismatch of the core facts of the case by a huge scoop's worth. Are you sure you're alright with that?
No!
Well, okay, don't panic, don't panic. We can still turn this around. Order, order, order! But then, how on earth did that poison enter the victim's system? The most simple explanation would be that she drank some. She drank it? Check the photo again. As you can see at the crime scene, there was a bottle of carbonated water and a glass lying on the sand. Perhaps she ingested the poison that way.
Someone slipped the poison into her drink.
Oh-ho! Those handsome eyes! They have a look of a dim-witted buffoon in them! But glaring so keenly at me will get you nowhere! For you see, in this world, I, Mamomi, am the only one who couldn't have poisoned that Englishwoman! It's already been proven!
man, anyone with a pose like that is just screaming guilty. How did you come to that?
Oh dear. Did you forget? The one who proved that was none other than you personally!
But me? What is he talking about?
Well, I think he's gonna say something along the lines of, well, if you're accusing me for stabbing her, then I can't be the one who poisoned her, basically. Which is still kind of a...
Oh-ho! Those trembling eyes! They have a look of a dim-witted buffoon in them!
That still makes him guilty, though. It appears that this trial isn't over just yet. Therefore, The court orders the witness to testify once more.
Oh, that's perfect! That tangle beard! I love it!
Why could you not possibly have poisoned the witness? You will explain your reason for saying this before the court.
Mommy, the man, the journalist, will never and has never intended to run or hide. That's the heart of my Mommy philosophy!
Just when I thought I captured the truth, it retreated again into the darkness. Where on earth is this trial headed?
Towards the end, I think. I think this is where the music's gonna pick up, actually. This might be the last testimony? The basics for the absolute truth.
I admit that I stabbed the Englishwoman, but that fact has proved me innocent. If I'd already slipped her the poison, there would have been no need for me to stab her. Listening to the schoolgirl and that Englishwoman's argument that day got me angry. If the Englishwoman wasn't going to be judged for her crime, then someone had to take justice into their own hands!
So he admits to stabbing, but which is still wrong, even though he's like, no, I didn't murder. I'm like, okay.
So then, you admit it. You admit that the one who stabbed the victim in the back through the reeds was you, Momi-sama.
It's our nation's fault. A nation that yields to the pressure of foreign ones and allows a murderer to go free has no future. And that's why I had no choice but to take matters into my own hands in the cowardly Japanese government's stead. I plunged the blade of justice into that lovely lady's back.
That's still wrong! That doesn't make you any better for these, like...
As someone who's charged with spreading the truth, allow me to apologize deeply for giving a false testimony. However, it would seem that someone was able to get things done before I could. Yes, naturally. I'm referring to that lovely, respect-deserving schoolgirl.
Haori-sama.
She slipped the Englishwoman poison and stopped her heart. She saved me from being declared a murderer.
That's true. If she'd already been slipped poison, it would have only been a matter of waiting for her to die. There would have been no need to go to the trouble of stabbing her in the back.
Therefore, this man has nothing to do with the poisoning. Naturally, that's the obvious conclusion.
Yes, I think you understand my point. Long live the Supreme Court!
How could this happen? He came so far, and now he's going to get away? Neither Kazuma-sama nor Naruhodō-sama ever forgot to look ahead before the sound of the last gavel fell.
Or fall. Fell, fall, fall. Alright then, defense. You may conduct your cross-examination.
Yes, Your Honor.
Alright, before we do that, we gotta figure out how the poison was administered at this point. So let's look at this pen again. Okay, good.
Now, let's try removing the cap. Let's disassemble the grip too. This is where the ink goes, correct?
Yes, the pen nib end extends to the ink cartridge and sucks up the ink. Is something wrong, Father? As far as I can tell, there doesn't appear to be any ink in the cartridge. You're right. It's nearly empty. Looks really empty. Did it just run out of ink? Ah, there we go. There's the solution. Now we gotta get there. Fountain pen. The initials HM are engraved on it. There's just a little liquid left in the ink cartridge. Alright, let's get to this testimony and see if we can use this piece of information that we found. Looks like we're pressing everything too, so... So in other words, you possess murderous intent toward the victim.
Ha! More like righteous indignation!
Righteous indignation. You must mean justified anger.
That Englishwoman committed murder in her own country! In other words, the ultimate crime! The government just let that criminal be, so I, mummy, had to take up my hammer of justice in their stead! Justified anger! Societal justice! That's what turned me into the monster I am!
Well, at least he admits that. In short, you did possess murderous intent, correct?
Either way, there's only one thing that matters. That my righteous indignation rendered the Englishwoman speechless.
And now it's our turn to bring down that hammer of justice upon that schoolgirl.
Regardless, I obviously had nothing to do with the poisoning.
And that's why you wouldn't have poisoned her?
That's right! It'd be like wearing a belt and suspenders at the same time!
After the defendant poisoned her, this witness stabbed her. Naturally, we can't just let him off the hook, but the one who committed the murder was the defendant. That's how the law works. Have you learned something new today, Hicks student?
However, to be murdered twice, I can't help feeling sorry for the victim.
That just goes to show how evil she was. That's how the law works.
No, that's not how it works. That's just karma. I'm pretty sure that's not how the law works. Witness, tell the court why you stabbed the victim. Oops. Where were the two of them? What were the two of them talking about?
About the murder 9 months ago. The schoolgirl was yelling at the Englishwoman for killing Professor Watson, whom she felt indebted to.
John H. Watson, medical doctor whom Professor Mikatoba invited from England.
But the Englishwoman just laughed scornfully about it.
He was due to face trial in consular court in Shanghai, but no doubt she would have been found innocent, and after that, she would have been allowed to return to her home in England.
The defendant seemed frustrated about that. I couldn't help feeling sorry for her.
Hold it!
I cannot possibly accept what you just testified.
Haori-sama.
Hey! Who said you could take the stand, defendant?
Exactly.
Meanwhile, Souseki.
I'm in the middle of my testimony. Kindly keep quiet.
But what you just said is nothing but a big fat lie! Hey, Susato-chan, please.
We're in the middle of a cross-examination. The defendant returned to her seat at once. Your Honor, I implore you. That reporter is not a trustworthy witness.
Yeah, that's right. He's a dirty old peeping Tom who covers himself with filthy lies.
You went a bit too far there.
Please, let us hear what the defendant has to say.
There's no need for us to hear her, Your Honor.
The court will honor the defense's request. I love this judge. He's so reasonable.
Your Honor!
I believe this will be the last cross-examination of this trial. Therefore, it's important that we listen to the defendant's claim. It may be a tad unorthodox, but, defendant, you may state your claim.
Thank you very much. It had nothing to do with Professor Watson. We were talking about the stolen poison.
You mean the poison that took the victim's life?
I suspected that the Englishwoman was the one who'd stolen it. And just remember what happened in that case 9 months ago.
That's true. Ms. Barrett knew about the poison. But I can't imagine that if medicine developed in secrecy could be easy pickings for a thief. Quite right. Everyone who visited the lab was subject to thorough body checks. Even if we didn't see her taking it, it would have been difficult for her to make off with it. Not unless it is inside a pen!
During our conversation, I was allowed to see it after insisting on it, but... Later, when it was time to leave the lab, I was given a thorough pat-down.
Ms. Brett imprudently revealed the existence of the poison, you see. Mr. Souseki seemed unusually interested in it, so I had no choice but to show it to him. Naturally, I didn't divulge anything about it except that it was a deadly poison. Oh! Oh, suddenly something just made sense to me that I didn't pick up the first time I played this.
I'm ashamed of myself. It's just that I have incredibly unpleasant memories pertaining to deadly poison.
He has unpleasant memories. This is foreshadowing what Case 2 is gonna be about at this point. More poisons, guy! There are more poisons!
Getting a glimpse of it made me feel better! Surely you understand!
In any case, it was that poison that I was speaking to that woman about. On the off chance that an incident were to occur due to the use of that poison, not only the lab, but the military and even our government would have been dragged into it. It would have been a major disaster. And that's what I told her.
And what did Giselle Brett say to that?
I don't know, she said, her pretty lips curling upward.
May I ask you something, Mr. Mamimomi?
No, you may not. As you clearly see, I'm terribly busy.
You were listening in on their conversation at the time from outside the shack. You would have used what you learned from that conversation to write this article, would you? Ooh. Powerful drugs stolen from Yume Imperial University Medical Research Lab. The article appeared in this morning's edition of the Daily Dai Gyakuten. It was written in great detail. Were you the author?
I have no idea what you're...
Wait, you're right! The information in this article. That's verbatim what I said to her that day.
Gah!
Well, Mamimomi-sama.
As a reporter, and as a man...
I don't know what being a man has to do with anything about not revealing your sources, but okay.
I never reveal my sources! That's part of my moral philosophy!
Looks like it's just as father suspected. Mamimomi-sama wrote this article based on the information he heard from outside the shack that day. Poison article. An article about some poison that was stolen from the research lab of Yume Imperial University. Mamimomi used the info he overheard to write it.
Huh, I see. So it was in order to hide that. That you told that sleazy lie about me arguing with her.
Shut your mouth! I've never done a sleazy thing in my life!
No, you didn't stab a person or anything.
The words of some mere schoolgirl don't change that fact. Your Honor, I'd like to make something abundantly clear.
Very well. You may amend your testimony. You alright there?
In any case, there'll be no need to stab someone who'd already been poisoned.
There might be a reason, actually. Let's present this poison article in your face. There's only one reason I can think of.
What?
Before that, allow me to confirm something, Mami Momi-sama. Did you hear all the information written here while you were eavesdropping from outside the shack?
Yes, that should be fairly obvious. After all, when it was shown to us in the lab, the only thing they told us about it was that it was an incredibly deadly poison.
And there's one other fact here that's important. Haori-sama started arguing with the victim as soon as she entered the shack. In other words, it would have been impossible for her to slip the victim any poison.
How the hell did you figure that?
Mami Momi-sama testified that he saw the entire event from start to finish. If Haori-sama had tampered with anything, he should have seen that.
Ah!
He should have mentioned that. In which case, the one who slipped Giselle Brett the poison would have to have been done so before Murasame-kun ever even arrived at the crime scene. That's true. That much is clear.
We were talking about that medicine inside the shack.
That's when Mami Momi-sama overheard some frightening information.
Frightening information? What do you mean?
Just as he wrote in this newspaper article, the poison was being developed in secret and isn't something that could be attained just anywhere. Not anywhere by a long shot. In fact, it didn't exist outside our lab. And when that poison has been used, it leaves behind clear traces.
Incredibly constricted pupils. It's so dramatic that you can tell at a single glance. There are other poisons that produce similar symptoms, but the fact that it's an undetectable new drug makes it a different story.
Aha! So he knew the symptoms of the poison. In other words, if the victim's life had been taken through the use of the poison, the suspect would have been narrowed down in an instant. Ugh. Every one of the staff members in my lab knew the characteristics of that medicine. I can't imagine any of them going out of their way to put themselves in danger by using it to commit a crime. That includes Murasame-kun, of course. Therefore, the one who slipped the victim the poison was a member of the general public who didn't know about its special traits. That's right! It was you, Mami Momi-hata!
Ah!
You were the one who stole the poison from the lab that day. And you were the one who slipped the victim the poison. But that was a fatal error.
Using that incredibly unique poison, which could be identified in a split second.
You knew that because you heard it while eavesdropping. However, this was after you already slipped her the poison, so it was too late. In order to hide your error, you cooked up a plan. Then, you stabbed the victim in the back through the read screen.
In the back? But why on earth would he do that?
Naturally, it was because he had to kill her instantly before the effects of the poison could manifest. Once the poison circulates through the body, its effects begin with contracted pupils. You had to end her life before that happened. That's what he was thinking. Precisely. If not for the traces it left behind, no one would ever know a thing about this poison that was being developed. Unbelievable. In order to hide this incredibly unique poison as the real cause of death, the killer had to stab the victim in the back with that knife. Order! 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 The court believes that this proposed turn of events makes sense. Does the prosecution have any rebuttal to offer?
Well, several, to the whole thing!
The prosecution's vague conjecture just now, just like the hope sprouting from his forehead, is but a candle in the wind. Ouch! That burnt!
My hope!
That's savage, Susato!
Hold it!
Whoa!
I can't count on that fallen warrior behind the prosecutor's bench for anything, can I?
Who are you calling a fallen warrior?
No rebuttal is ever even necessary.
What do you mean by that?
You shouldn't even have to ask. You see, you've been tossing out accusations all over the place about how I slipped her the deadly poison and then stabbed her. But in the end, you haven't proved a single word of it. It's only reasonable sounding conjecture, and the truth is you don't have a shred of evidence. And then there's the material I've been sitting on.
Material? What do you mean?
It's something that professor there said earlier. I scribbled it all down, I cut it down and punched it up and kicked it out the door. That's the verbal violence that the Daily Daikoku is so famous for.
But I can't imagine that a medicine developed in secrecy would be easy pickings for a thief. Quite right. Everyone who visited the lab was subject to thorough body checks. Even if we didn't see her taking it, it would have been difficult for her to make off with it. Time to show that ink pen!
Basically, just that. I, Mr. Mamamihita of the Daily Daikoku, had no way of making off that poison, you see!
Are you sure about that? You're way too confident about this, my man.
No matter what he says, Momi-sama definitely stole the poison he'd seen that day in the lab and used it to commit the murder. And if that's true,
as you've already stated, the poison itself is the conclusive evidence. Whoever stole the poison that day must also be the true killer.
What are you getting at? You damn hick pretty boy?
You're sweating. I believe that that day, there was one way you could have stolen the poison. There's already been enough talk. What you need is evidence. Show evidence of how this witness could have stolen the poison on the day of the murder. The fountain pen.
could I?
That would be this fountain pen. The fountain pen? What does that have to do with anything? This is a magical pen whose ink won't run out even if you jot down thousands of words. According to what I've heard, this mysterious writing utensil was brought over to Japan about 15 years ago.
Ha! I refuse to accept any writing utensil but a weasel fur brush.
As an author ahead of his time, I'm quite fond of the fountain pen. Fill it up with an ink of a favorite color and write like mad in nice clean strokes.
Exactly. Fountain pens have a suction device built into their grips, which allows letters to be written by sucking ink up from the pen nib.
Sucking up ink.
And since it's capable of sucking up liquids, naturally, it's also capable of squirting those liquids back out. That confident pose! Oh, wait, so... What do you say now, Mommy Momi-sama? You, upon seeing the poison that day, used your fountain pen, the tool of your trade, to steal it. You used the suction device and sucked the poison up into your fountain pen.
That's ridiculous! He couldn't possibly have done that!
It seems that they were performing body checks in the lab to prevent theft, but... I don't suppose the inside of his fountain pen was ever checked, was it? No, I'm embarrassed to admit it, but... out of hesitation to insult our guests, we didn't check nearly that thoroughly. What the? This fountain pen was found in the victim's hand. In other words, Mommy Momi-sama dropped it at the crime scene. So then, it becomes a question of when he dropped it. You can't mean. It was when the victim gave him an opening and he put the poison in his pen into her glass. That's the natural conclusion to draw.
But not necessarily. For example, I know. It could have been the witness. It could have been when the witness went to ask for an interview with the English lady and was flatly rejected. He may have been so upset that the pen slipped from his trembling hand.
Then why would there not be ink in the pen?
Huh?
As you can tell by looking at it, there is currently no ink inside this fountain pen. There's no way a newspaper reporter would allow his weapon of choice to run out of ink. It happened after the suction device had already squirted out the poison inside. Witness, what do you have to say for yourself?
Is this how modern court operates? Whether I let my fountain pen run out of ink or snap the lead in my pencil.
Whoa!
I don't sweat it, I just put on a new pencil!
Holy crap!
You say there was poison in my fountain pen? You're just guessing! If you think you can get a respectable citizen declared guilty just by doing that, you've got nothing coming!
It seems that this reporter requires you to land a final killing blow. The situation is exceedingly clear. Whether this witness used his fountain pen to steal poison on the day of the crime or not, is there any evidence to show one way or the other? It's all hinging on this.
Ha! As if there are any such...
This is a modern trial, Mame Momi-sama.
What are you?
In a modern trial, the only thing that matters is evidence. You might as well get that through your thick skull. The time for conjecture has come and gone. Okay, actually, it looks like... Alright, but I guess there is a chunk that's enough left, so yeah, okay, I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to cut this then. The court asked the defense to present evidence. Now, at last, it's time for the final piece of evidence. The evidence that proves that this witness used his fountain pen to steal the poison is... something we'll find out in the next video, and it'll definitely be the last one. It'll be a short one, but, this is far too lengthy to be the point that it's gonna be an hour long. So, yeah, gonna just stop it here. Sorry, guys! I'll see you in the next video.